Hello, today we're going to create these cool seamless transitions with zoom, rotation, twirl distortion, glowing colorful particles, and epic sound effects. In the attached zip, you'll find pre-rendered particles that you can use, as well as the pack of various swoosh sounds to add to your transitions. Let's begin. Let's create a composition. Make it full HD, 85 frames long. I'll drop 2 pieces of footage onto the timeline to see how the effects are working. The transition will happen at frame 11, so I'll cut the footage at this frame. Next, I'll deselect the footage and add a composition marker. Thus, when we add this comp to another one, the marker will show where the cut is. Let's add a null object. I'll call it Control. We'll stack all the transition settings there. Let's start with adding some particles. I have some pre-rendered pieces of particles footage here. I'll put them inside the attached project file so that you can use them as well. Let's see how it looks. Nothing too fancy for now, so we'll add a little velocity burst by adjusting the timing. Enable the time remapping. Add a keyframe at frame 35 and move it to the cut. Add a 180 keyframe at the end of the comp, as the particle footage is 180 frames long. Now you see, the motion of the particles is much faster in the beginning and slows down after the transition happens, which looks much better. Let's color the particles. Add a color control to the control layer and rename it to Particles Color 1. Duplicate it twice, as we'll have a couple more particle layers. Select the particles. Add a tint effect. I'll click on the white map stopwatch and link it to the control. Let's set the control to something yellowish. Let's also add some glow to the particles. Not too much though. Let's set the radius to 70. Set the particles blending mode to add and duplicate the layer twice. Select the second particles layer, hold down Alt or Option on Max, and drag and drop the new piece of footage onto the timeline. Do the same thing with the second duplicate. Thus we'll replace the particles with the new footage. Press E twice to reveal the expressions and replace the number in the color expression. And do it with the second layer as well. Now let's set the colors to something reddish and maybe cyan. Let's take a quick look. Great! Add a point control to the control layer. We'll use it for the zoom transition. The first value will cover the first part, and the second one. Set it for 0 now. Add an adjustment layer and call it Transition. Add a transform effect. We'll animate the scale, not from 100, but from 0 to 1, and we'll add 100 back in the expression. Set the second keyframe at frame 12. Easy ease the keyframes and adjust the curve in the curve editor. Now let's add an expression. I'll click on the stopwatch. Select the control layer and type 100 plus value multiply. And then link to the first value of the point control. It doesn't work now, but if we change it to -50, a zoom out effect appears. Let's add a motion tile effect to get rid of the black edges. Set it to 300 and turn on the Mirror Edges checkbox. Let's animate the rotation. Add a slider control to the control layer and call it Rotation. We'll animate the rotation in the way we did it with the scale. Animate it from 0 to 1. and set the keyframe at frames 0 and 12. Easy ease the keyframes, and let's add a similar curve. Now we need to add an expression as well. Alt-click on the rotation stopwatch, select the control layer, and type value multiply 45 multiply. Then link to the rotation control and then divide the result by 10. Now as we multiply the value by 45, we can easily set the required rotation angle, like 90 or 180 degrees. Okay, let's set the rotation to 10. Some black edges are still visible, so increase the motion tile height value up to 400. I would also like to add some motion blur. Turn off the Use Composition Shutter Angle switch and set the shutter angle to 180. Duplicate the slider control twice. These will be for shake and random seed. Select a transition layer and add a slider control. Let's call it Shake Control. Animate it from 0 at frame 2 to 1 at frame 20, and then back to 0 at frame 40. Easy ease the frames. That's the interval when the shake will happen. Alt-click on the slider stopwatch, select the control layer, and multiply the value by the shake control. After that, Alt-click on the position stopwatch, select the control layer, and add a seed random expression linking to the random seed control. Next type wiggle parenthesis 4, comma, and link to the shake control slider. Let's set the shake value to 50. Add another slider to the control layer and call it Twirl. Select the transition layer and add a twirl effect. Set the radius to 20. Animate the angle from 0 to 180 at frame 50. Easy ease the keyframes and adjust the curve so that the peak of the velocity is right at the cut. Just like that. Set the zoom and rotation controls to 0 for now. Alt-click on the Twirl Angle stopwatch. Select the control layer and type value multiply. Then link to the Twirl control and divide the result by 10. Set the twirl value to 30. Let's add the second part of the transition. Select the transition layer and split it at frame 11. Press U to reveal the keyframes. We want to reverse the twirl animation, so set the first keyframe to 180 and the second one to 0. Also add -10 instead of 10 in the expression, as the twirl direction should also be reversed. Let's see how the twirl is working. Looks good. Set twirl to 0. Zoom to 500 and -50. And rotation to 15. I'll turn off the particles for now to see the motion better. Select the second transition layer and press U to reveal the keyframes. Adjust the scale and rotation keyframes so that the animation starts at frame 11 and ends at frame 50. Next, open the expression area. We'll set the scale expression to 0.1 and reverse the rotation by adding -10 instead of 10. Let's also adjust the curves for the both values. Let's see how it works. Great, but we can adjust the animation better. Let's make the scale animation more explosive. Set a scale keyframe at frame 40 and move it to frame 20. Now the first part of the zooming happens faster. Good! Let's see how zooming out is working. Set the zoom control to -50 and 500, and the rotation to 0. Looks great! Let's add some lens distortion. Add another slider to the control layer and rename it. Duplicate the transition adjustment layer, prolong it to frame 0, and delete the effects. Rename it to lens distortion. Add an optics compensation effect and turn on the reverse lens distortion switch. Animate the field of view parameter from 0 to 1 at frame 11, and then back to 0. Let's set the last keyframe at frame 50. Easy ease the keyframes and slightly adjust the curve in the end. Alt-click on the field of view stopwatch and link the value to the lens distortion control. Let's also multiply it by 1.5. Set the value to 75 and let's have a look. Let's get the particles back. Looks great! Let's add another slider to the control layer and call it black and white. I would like to add some color adjustments to the footage. Duplicate the adjustment layer and rename it to color. Put it right on top of the footage layers. Delete the optics compensation and add a tint effect. Animate the amount of tint parameter from 0 to 1 at the cut and then back to 0 at the end of the transition. Easy ease the keyframes and link it to the black and white control with the value expression. The colorful particles are looking much better on top of the tinted footage. Let's also add an exposure effect. Animate the exposure from 0 to 1 and back to 0 to have a bit of a flash in the middle. Let's see how it works. Great! Finally, it's time to add sound effects. You'll find a bunch of them in the attached project file, so you can use them as well. It's a bit longer than the transitions, so let's add a fade out at the end. Add an audio levels keyframe at about frame 60 and lower the value at the end of the transition. Let's have a preview. Sounds great. It's very easy to replace the particles. Just select the particles layer, hold Alt, and drag and drop another piece of footage onto the timeline. Changing the colors is also easy with the control layer. Let's set them to red, cyan, and white. You can easily turn off zoom and rotation. Increase the twirl value and have a particles twirl transition. Let's have a look. Looks good. Let's change the colors and adjust it to a zoom out transition. Set the zoom to -50 and 500. Rotation to -40. Turn off twirl and increase the lens distortion value. Let's also change the sound effect. Looks cool! If we delete the footage, we can use this transition in another sequence. Just put it on top and turn on the collapse transformation switch. The cut marker will help you time the transition comp properly. We can also duplicate the original transition, adjust the duplicates, and use them in a single sequence. With a variety of settings, particles, and sound effects, you can create a dozen of unique transitions. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.